beers, so I will not run over my allotted time. Let's see. Yes, my name is Thorkild Smediger. I am a Danish guy. I came here to Switzerland in 2018 because of a job I got at Bitcoin Swiss. So I moved here when they moved part of their development department. So I was a technical guy at Bitcoin Swiss, integrating Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think those mostly those two blockchains I work with, and then all the Bitcoin spin-offs that may or may not have been forgotten by now. Yes, that's a little bit about me. And then in 2020, I was actually working on this floor, in this building, on this very floor, behind that wall in there, and I ran into my business partner, Alan Cipienic, who's there behind the camera. And he had an idea for a new blockchain because he had been working with cryptography research the last, I don't know how many years, 8 years by that time. And he knew that there was all this exciting technology coming up. There was ways to make blockchain post-quantum. There was ways to make the blockchain not take up as many computational resources, and there was ways to make the blockchain private. And he wanted to build a blockchain based on these ideas, based on this new cryptography. And I thought a little bit about it and eventually came around to joining him in that. So, Neptune Cash is what we've built now. This doesn't seem to be working. Let me try. Okay, good. I was putting it upside down. That was the information. Right. Neptune Cash is digital money, so it's a cryptocurrency. It allows for the transfer of money without intermediaries and gatekeepers. Yeah, you've been hearing about that for the last 2.5 weeks, so I'm sure you're familiar with the concept. It's similar to Bitcoin in some regards. There's a limited amount of Neptune. There's no central control. And it's built on cryptography, so it works. The underlying foundation is cryptography. It's different from Bitcoin in 3 other respects. It's private, means you cannot see the sender, receiver, or the amounts that's being transferred. It is post-quantum, meaning it promises to withstand the invention of large-scale quantum computers. And it is programmable, and Bitcoin isn't really programmable. It's based. We've been working on this for 5 years now, and it's based on the like I said in the introduction, the latest cryptography. We launched back in February 2025, so 1.5 years ago. So we are, I guess, halfway towards our first halving by now. What makes Neptune special? It's private, like Monero. It is post-quantum secure, like Algorand, and it is programmable, like Ethereum. Let's dive a little bit into why we think privacy, what privacy is, and why we think it's important. Most blockchains are not private. So in Bitcoin, whenever you make a transaction, you can see who is the sender, who is the receiver, and what are the amounts that you transfer. Some blockchains are private. Neptune Cash is one of them. And there it's such that only the people involved in the transaction, that's 2 parties, the sender and the receiver, sees the amount. And only the receiver actually doesn't even see where the money's coming from. It can just see, oh, it came into this address, so they can infer it must be to this guy because I only shared the address with this other guy. But you can argue that on the protocol level, even the receiver does not see who the sender is. Yes. And how does that work? Well, it works with a new invention in cryptography that is already or it is already today, and it will be an even bigger deal in the future. It's called zero knowledge proofs, and it lets you prove that a statement is true without revealing unnecessary details. So you could imagine that you had an ID card that shows that you are 18, but it does not show your birth date. You can think of it. You can think of zero knowledge proofs like that. And one of the things that motivates us, one of the reasons we think that privacy is important is we ask ourselves the question: how can you run a business on a blockchain if you show all your payments to your competitors? So the industry standard is kind of privacy is a nice feature, but it's not really necessary. We think that's backwards. We think that blockchain and cryptocurrencies only really have a shot at being institutionally relevant once they are private, because only then can you run a business on the blockchain. Post-quantum cryptography. So there's this concept of quantum computers that physicists have been researching, mathematicians have been researching the last 40 years. They haven't really managed to build one yet, but if they do, it will be able to break the cryptography that Bitcoin and Ethereum, and actually also Monero and almost all blockchains are built on. So quantum computers are not, you shouldn't think of them as supercomputers that can do everything faster. You should think of them as very specialized instruments that can solve very particular problems, but those very particular problems happen to be what 99.9% of all blockchains are based on. But not us, because our cryptography is post-quantum cryptography. And that means that we do not have to worry about a transition like Bitcoin and Ethereum and most other blockchains have to think, they have to solve two problems. They have to first agree on what kind of cryptography to use if a quantum computer comes along, and secondly, they actually have to migrate users' funds or coins from the old cryptography to the new cryptography. And we think that migration is, well, gonna be messy. Imagine if a quantum computer was announced today, everyone would rush to try to migrate their coins from the quantum insecure cryptography to the new protocol, and everyone would have to issue their transaction at the same time. Fees would spike. So that kind of transition is avoided on our blockchain, Neptune. And then I thought. A question I've thought about for the last couple of years is, are you willing, or any of you guys willing to bet all your money that no powerful quantum computer is invented in the next 10 years? I see someone shaking their head. I like that, because that's the bet essentially that Bitcoin and Ethereum maximalists are doing. They're making the bet that quantum computers will not come. And sure, you can say, well, maybe it will be like cold fusion, right? Maybe it will be this technology that never really materializes. It's a possibility. But are you willing to bet all your money on it? I'm not. So, if you remember one thing from this presentation, let it be this. Neptune has the technology that Ethereum wants. And that's not just my statement. I went to ethereum.org/roadmap. You can go there yourself now, and you can check what it is they want, how they want Ethereum to look 5 to 10 years from now. One of the things they mention, post-quantum security. Well, guess what? We have that today. Another thing they mention is zero knowledge proofs, ZKVM. They want a virtual machine that can produce zero knowledge proofs. Well, guess what? We have that today. And a third point that they have on is statelessness, which is this fancy feature that you don't, in order to validate the blockchain, you don't have to download the entire history. You just have to validate the latest block. Well, we happen to call it succinctness, but that's a thing that's on our roadmap. It's not a thing that we have finished yet, but we expect to have it within the year, and for us it can be implemented as a soft fork. So 2 out of 3 of these 3 important features that that Ethereum wants, we have. And the last one is coming this year. Right, a little overview here. We launched in 2025. Bitcoin, of course, as you know, launched in 2009, and Ethereum in 2014. And we are based on modern cryptography. Our cryptography was all developed within the last 10 years, in the 2020s. And Bitcoin is based off of technology, like actually quite old technology from the 1980s. And Ethereum is a little bit younger. Private, we offer privacy. The other chains do not. Post-quantum secure, we offer that. They do not. We offer programmability, smart contracts, which, sorry, there's a little bit of German left over here, which Ethereum of course does, but yeah, we offer full programmability just like Ethereum, and Bitcoin is certainly not fully programmable. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have some similarities with Bitcoin. We have, you probably know that Bitcoin has a halving every 4 years. We have one every 3 years, and that reduces the inflation rate of our currency. So the emission, the way that coins are created on our blockchain is very similar to that of Bitcoin. The tokenomics is very similar. There's a little asterisk there though. In order to finance the 5 years of development that is behind all this, we decided to have a small pre-mine. So we have a pre-mine, means in the Genesis block we awarded some of the coins to our investors. And that amounts to a 1.98% pre-mine. Of course, Bitcoin was launched without a pre-mine, and Ethereum was launched with a 60% pre-mine. The consensus algorithm, we use proof of work mining. So does Bitcoin, and Ethereum use proof of stake. That is more or less what I have. Yes. I'll be hanging around, so...
But Simon has a question already now.
Yes, I'll be hanging around for sandwiches, so if you want to ask questions P2P, you may do so later.
So first of all, thank you for the presentation. I have actually 2 questions. One thing that you mentioned that you ensure privacy, like Neptune ensure privacy, and the sender and receiver, they only know the amount, but the receiver don't know from which address this came. So this directly implies like a way out to money laundering, like, so how do you make sure that it is not going to be used for that purpose? And the second thing is like regarding the privacy and zero knowledge proof. So do you develop your own circuits? Like there are a lot of ZK Stark and Snark and then libraries like Road 16 and many more. So how do you do that, and how it is quantum secure? Quantum secure or post-quantum,
Say the last thing.
Like quantum secure or post-quantum?
Yes, so let me try to start from the end. So yes, we developed our own cryptography. We have a virtual machine, and we designed those circuits ourselves. It's called Triton VM. It's open source. It's been around for, in its current state it hasn't been around for that long. But yeah, it's open source, and anyone can inspect the source code and try to find security holes there. About the post-quantum, the cryptography is basically based off of hash functions, and those are believed to, not be attackable by quantum computers. And how do we ensure that the blockchain is not used for bad purposes? Well, I guess you could ask any crypto founder, how do they ensure, when you build a permissionless system, you do not ensure that. That's the short answer. A permissionless system is something that can be used by anyone. I could counter and say, well, are you also gonna accuse the electricity company of supplying electricity to someone who does bad things? Some of these things we think of as public utilities, and there's a resource and you can use it if you want to. And yes, that's well, that is implied by permissionless system that it can be used for bad things. I guess you could ask the same thing about the internet. You could say, well, the internet allows criminals to communicate easily across borders. And yes, that is true. But we believe that the benefits of having an internet around outweighs those problems. And we also believe that that's true for a private blockchain.
I'm by Mauro, no? Mauro is there with the board.
Last question, make it really fast. So there's no proof that exists quantum resistance blockchains. Algorand is not quantum resistant, it's meant to be eventually quantum resistant. So I think it's a super strong affirmation to say, but I would like to know in what it's based, because the Algorand one was based on their account model, but there's no proof that there exists something quantum resistant yet, because it has not been quantum attacks. So I would like to know a little bit better about that focus, or is it an affirmation, or is it a mission or a vision? If it's a mission or a vision, it's okay.
It's not a vision or it's a vision, it's reality on our blockchain. And it's true that you cannot technically prove that something is quantum resistant. But there are a lot of things in cryptography we cannot prove. What is true is that quantum computers as a mathematical concept has been around for 40 years. And smart mathematicians have sat down and said, well, if I had this kind of machine, what kind of problem could I solve? And they realized that if they had this kind of machine, well, they can break the elliptic curve cryptography that Bitcoin and Ethereum are based on, and no general attack on hash function has been invented, even if you had the hypothetical quantum computer. But if you want to dive deeper into this, you should ask my cryptography researcher, business partner, Alan Shapirich, who's the architect of this blockchain, or the architect of the cryptography of this blockchain. I consider myself the lead engineer, and he's the lead architect. So if you want to have a deep discussion about what post-quantum means, ask him.
Fantastic. Very last question by Mark before we go for the Mark is between us and the...
Yes, maybe quick, but are you aware of DarkFi from Amitaki, like what he's planning, and how far do you differ from that project?
I have a huge respect for Amitaki, and I consider him a friend. They are on AlphaNet now, last time I checked, and we launched 18 months ago. I cannot give you detailed information about their protocol. I believe they use the account-based model, we use the UTXO model. I believe they are based on snarks, so their cryptography is based on elliptic curves, elliptic curve snarks. So I think the blockchain that they are building and will hopefully launch, it's not going to be post-quantum secure, but it is also a private programmable platform that they are building.
Fantastic. Thorkild, then thank you very much.